I used to know Brazil for Pele. I used to know Brazil for Neymar. I used to know Brazil for football. I used to know Brazil for coffee. I used to know Brazil for beaches, Ibiza, partying. Those are the kind of things I've heard about Brazil. Never been there, must admit, but I've heard about her. Brazil is known for all this. In the last 10 days, at least in India, Brazil has become famous for one more person and one more thing, and that is Acharya Jonas Masetti or Acharya Vishvanatha and his great effort at spreading the teachings of the Gita, the Upanishads and Vedanta. In our Honorable Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat, the last one that was aired about a week ago, he singled out the achievements of Acharya Vishvanatha. He actually, there was a small, in fact, almost like a documentary that ran for nearly, I think, 3 to 4 minutes, where he spoke about Acharya Vishwanatha's achievements in understanding Indian tradition, Indian culture, imbibing the Vedic wisdom of the Gita, the Upanishads, Vedanta, and how he has gone to countries abroad and how he's got a huge following and how he's spreading this Indian teaching to a whole lot of people across the world. Jonas Masetti, otherwise known as Vishvanatha, is a Grahastha and a traditional Vedanta teacher settled in Brazil. Before study of Vedanta, he graduated in engineering and had a successful career as a financial market consultant. I wonder what it is with engineers and getting into Vedanta. Must be something with the teaching. He is mostly known for his regular Vedanta classes and his daily podcasts, where his teachings are streamed to more than 150,000 listeners. Yeah, I didn't make a mistake. There was no typo there. It is 150,000 listeners. And Vishwanatha completed his Vedanta studies under Sri Pujya Swami Dayanand Saraswati Ji, whom we heard in the morning. We heard his video for nearly 25 minutes in the morning when we started the day, in a 3-year course in Coimbatore. And since then, he teaches Vedanta, Sanskrit and mantras both online and in retreats for Portuguese speaking people, largely in Brazil. We are indeed extremely fortunate and happy that Acharya Vishwanatha has been able to take out the time to address us about a very interesting topic. Moksha and success. Do they go hand in hand? Are they conflicting? So is it one or the other? Do you have to give up the pursuit of moksha for succeeding in life? And so on and so forth. We are hoping that Acharya Vishwanatha will throw some light on this and enlighten us on this subject. Acharya Vishwanatha, welcome to the Vedic Wisdom Festival.
Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Jagan Mataram Devim Sthitadhi Padmakasanam Hridayasagaratitam Gomatim Pranatosmyaham. Oh. So one of the questions that we usually have when we come upon Vedanta and the Vedic wisdom, let's say like this, is that how this knowledge would fit my life. Since I am a grihastha or maybe a student, and I have family responsibilities, I have a job to take care, I have so many needs as a human being to be addressed. And at the same time, it seems that this knowledge will require a lot of time and effort to be held. And suddenly, it seems that there are two different paths. One would be like the path of knowledge, and the other one, a path of the world, let's say projects, coping up with one's own need in the world. So when we think about this world effort that we have to do as a family member, as an employee or an employer, then we have this concept of success. And we want to be a successful person, a successful mother, a successful father, a successful son, a successful employer, employee, and we want this success. But at the same time, what does success mean? For each person is different. For some people, success is to have a child. For others, success is to earn a certain amount of money or be able to build or to have your own house, your own apartment is success. Actually, we define success in terms of ideas and concepts that were presented to us as challenges or as something that maybe would create a self-judgment in a better way. Maybe if I come from a family that does not have much money, a certain amount of money will be a good parameter for success. And like that, we create these goals and work upon it. The life, it's all surrounded around them. And if you really see how the mind works, in our day-to-day life, we end up like looking towards that goal every day. So whoever has as a goal to earn a certain amount of money, we will open the bank app every day and see how much money is there, you know. And because a certain amount of money was already gained, then the person feel a little bit easy with it himself, you know. And if the success is to have a child, every day the person will just speak about his child to everyone, show the picture to everyone, to keep in the mind that I'm going in the direction of being a successful person. The ego does that. It just repeat and repeat the same story every day. It seems something very, let's say, innocent, but actually all our purpose of life is surrounded by that same spot. And why we know that? Because when something goes wrong, and we don't want anything to go wrong, in Brazil, we knock the wood. I don't know how you do here, so I knock my head. So if something goes wrong and suddenly you lose your job, you know, or maybe it happens, a person very close to us is not there anymore. And what happened to that person? The whole person collapsed. And the whole person collapsed because the mind is being held, it's becoming stable only because of that group of thoughts that make the connection between me and that object I love or the objective I have. So actually, the parameter that the society has as success is much more like, let's say, a floating boat to help you not to drown in the samsara, than really something that you're going up, you know. It's more something that's not letting you go down inside your own mind and thoughts. And when I was in the stock market, as Suresh was telling in the beginning, that was something very clear for me. I was seeing a lot of people that were very successful in my point of view because they had things that I did not have in job-wise, but at the same time, they were not really stable people. Anything that maybe, you know, some variation on the stocks, some news that will come in the TV will just take out the mood for the whole week. The company is in a bad mood now. Why? Because somebody in somewhere in the world happened to have done something that the news is not good for the company. And if the news is not good for the company is not going to go up on their stocks. And of course, my vision of a good and successful investor is not there for me. And suddenly I discovered that it's not about the company that is in the stock market. My own happiness is in the stock market. If I'm identified with those things, any things that happen, it will happen to me. and for my sense of being a happy person, a full person. And that's ridiculous, but that's the way we live. So this is what we say, like a life in the samsara going towards success. At the same time, if we look in the direction of spirituality, the ideas in the spirituality are very threatening. So we talk about detachment, we talk about helping others, we talk about being more loving. And although it seems that it should be something easy to be loving, the idea is not that you should be loving to those you love, because those you love, you're already loving. It's to be loving to those that you're not really connected to those person that may, those people that maybe have some sort of difficulty to cope with the person you are, and maybe does not treat you very well. And this type of people, we don't want to be loving towards them. Or maybe a father that has abandoned me when I was young. How inside of me I will find space and a way to reach this love, to reach this patience? It's something that seems really impossible. And then maybe this path, it's more for like a monk or a person that is really detached and doesn't want to live anymore in the world, and he was just going to throw everything up and go towards a new lifestyle, you know, a new way of thinking. And actually, this is not really true. Why? Because let's suppose I take out my white clothes and put orange clothes. I'm going to be the same person. I'm not going to change because of the color of my clothes. I'm not going to change if I live in the Himalayas or in Bombay. Does not change anything. And if I'm not a mature person in white, I'm not going to be a mature person in orange too. And what happened is that if you really think that this is the path, in the sense, just let's drop everything out and go towards Brahma and Moksha, you will discover that the same problems that you are having in the stock market, you will have in your spiritual path. And maybe your spiritual path will become commercial. Maybe you will try to boost your ego with all the namaskarams and praises that people will give. And this is it's much more common than we think. Because we are people. And the human being with ignorance is the same anywhere. So it's really, this is not what is a real spiritual path. This is more like escape. If we want to understand the spiritual path and at the same time cope with our worldly pursuits, we need to have a very open mind, because what is to be said is not easy to accomplish. It's very difficult. It's challenging. But at the same time, I don't see that we have any other option. Think about it. The reason why it's so difficult for me to deal with my parents, to deal with my wife, my children, my husband, is not because they are really bad people. Actually, the husband wake up in the morning with the same thought you have. Maybe today it will be a good day. Maybe today I can be happy. Everybody wake up in the house. The children wake up like this. Today I'm going to have fun and I will be able to deal with my father and my mother and to play. Everybody wants just to connect to each other. But at the same time, when like all the people gather together, it's just a mess. Everybody with their own ego, trying to hurt and to survive the other egos in the same place, you know. And that's not happening because these people has a problem. No, they don't have a problem. Actually, they are just the same as me. My problem with them has nothing to do with what is happening on this moment. Nothing. It's just a projection of old shadows of our ego, of our history, of our traumas. Maybe I have not a very good sense of myself, and I cannot deal with my son that has the Buddha Graha in the Lagna, and having the Buddha Graha in the Lagna, Jiminy, he's going to be very, very jokey. And I'm a person with, a, a low self-esteem, and I don't like jokes about myself. And suddenly, this becomes like a clash, but that has nothing to do with him or with you. Actually, he's joking with every person. And actually, your low self-esteem is in your life always. And it's not about he doing something to me. No, no. He being happy already disturbs me. Because all my life, I am like in a bad mood or maybe a depression-like state. And happy people around me disturbs me. Does not let me stay on my sadness wherever I'm feeling, my bad mood. This is what we call a projection. If you really analyze, there are no objective problems, practical problems in the human relations. Whenever you have an issue to solve without an emotional charge on it, it's very easy to solve. It's just a matter to understand what we have to do and we do it. But the moment the emotions are like projected on all these problems, what happens is that everything becomes very hard and very heavy. So I'm just like having to tell my mother I don't want to have dinner with her. And it's not something easy, just saying, mother, tonight I want to be alone and with my friends. No. If I speak whatever I feel like speaking, the truth that is inside of me, I feel it will be very hard to be accepted, to be loved. And this second part is what makes the human relations very difficult. And actually, if you want to be successful as a daughter, as a son, as a father, as a mother, this second part is more important than the first part. Because after all, we want to be understood. We want to be connected to the other people. And what is like stopping this connection are just those shadow projections. Those shadow projections that comes from my childhood and maybe even from a Purva Janma. Something that is coming with me to this life that I cannot even explain. So the concept of success has to be understood more clearly. Although there are some things that we need and we want to accomplish in life, the way of accomplishing them and what is behind those accomplishments, it's more important than the fact itself. Let's suppose, for example, for a lot of Brazilians that study Vedanta and yoga, and they don't have so much resources, one of their parameter of success is to travel to India and know you guys and be there with this culture and can maybe in one lifetime go to a temple, It's a parameter of success. And it's just not a matter of entering the airplane and reaching India. It's not enough. They have to go and they have to enjoy. And to enjoy a trip in India for a Western, it could be challenging because so many differences in the cultures and everything. You have to have a very open mind. And there are some people, we always tell like this if somebody asks, how is to travel to India? We have two options. You love it or you hate it. Because if you have the correct attitude, you're going to see something that is going to change your life, change the way you think, just be connected to some sort of, let's say, millennial heritage of the rishis, and you're going to be inspired for the rest of your life. But if you are connected to the material world, maybe your experience will be completely different and you can just say, I cannot cope with the pepper. I could not eat properly. So many people come back complaining about something so stupid to complain. Because, why? Their attitude, their mindset, it's not correct. And actually, if in any endeavor, let's say like this, any project that you have in your life, with this purpose of success, you have always these two components. It's not just a matter of reaching India. You have to enjoy the trip. And how to enjoy the trip? If you start to look closely how to enjoy the trip, how I can be a good employer in a company and enjoy the trip of being an employer. What is my attitude towards those people? And suddenly I will start to see that detachment is very important. Actually, when I started working in the stock market in my company, I had a partner that he came just 1 year after because he has some problems in his family and he has to delay his beginning. So in the first year, I saw that reality that, everybody that has a company knows. In every month or every week, at least 3 or 5 times, you think you're going to be very rich. And you also think you're going to be very poor and you're going to lose everything, And after like 3, 4 months living that, you understand that this is how things are and you don't have to worry too much. There is a stability that goes on. That does not matter if you have a new project or if things does not go very well, people accommodate. But in the beginning, for a person with 20 years old, everything's very threatening. So after like 6 months, I was vaccinated, Somebody would say, oh, I will do a new project with you and it will be very huge. I was okay. If it comes, let it come. And somebody would say, I don't want you working here anymore. Next year, I'm going to cancel all your contracts. I say, okay, if it cancel, we cancel. Because whatever I'm doing, you're only going to hire me if it's useful for you. And actually, if I'm a good person, if I'm a good employer, if I'm doing a good job, why would you fire me? I can be sure, I can be safe because I know who I am and I understand that the market and everything has its own way of going. And I don't have to worry. If I know how to swim, I will just swim to the next boat. And then like this, we keep going. And suddenly when my partner came 1 year after 2, 3 weeks, he was having some, how I say, high beat rates. Oh my God, they told this, they did that, they did this. I said, don't worry, this is how it is, It took him 6 months also to understand how it was. But it's always like this. You need some sort of detachment. Because when you tell your son that he's free to do whatever he wants to do, he may choose not to live with you. And if this is his choice, you have to respect it. So you cannot really be a good parent without detachment. You cannot be a good employer without detachment, a good employee without detachment. You cannot feel really loved if you don't give the other person the freedom to love you or not. So if you want to enjoy the trip, detachment is very important. And if you go to India, to travel to India, detachment is very important. For a Western mind where everything happens in a certain way, suddenly you go to a different place where the culture is different, you need a lot of detachment. And then you may think, so how to cope with all these different, let's say, things that has to be done? You have to be very skillful. Actually, you have to be very fast and objective because, life is very short. It's not long. And you don't want to lose time. You don't want to lose time in any place. If you go to India or wherever, if you come to Brazil, because you are Indians, if you come to Brazil and want to know what Brazil is, you don't want to lose time in things that are not important. If you want to stay with your son and daughter and have a good evening, you don't want to spend the evening, I don't know, discussing about something that does not have any importance, just because emotionally nobody knows how to deal with themselves. You don't want to touch points where people are not able to deal with. If you have if you hire a psychologist and want to solve your own problems, you want to be objective. You want to tell her exactly what is the most difficult thing so that she can help you with what is more important. So this objectiveness, this the the skill to deal with life becomes something very important for you to have a good trip, so that you can do your projects and not only accomplish the project, but in the process, you also will see yourself as an accomplished person. And then one thing very interesting happened like 2 weeks ago. I had a friend that he's on this process. And I know him for a long time ago. And actually, since today, he still asks me for some advice in these management things and all that. And he spent the last 4 years of his life trying to build a company that would be like national-wide, you know. And unfortunately, he does not see himself having success. And this last year, that was supposed to be his last year like of effort, because he says, I cannot bear anymore the burden of like putting my effort in this and not seeing it fly, you know. So this will be my last year. And on the last year, COVID came. So everything changed. It could be just like maybe an opportunity, but actually it was very bad for him. So when I speak to him, I feel a lot of sorrow inside him. It's very sad. And it's very sad in two ways. First, because the effort, when you don't see an effort coming out and you put the effort, it's something sad. We don't want that, you know. But the second point is that this effort was not put with the correct energy together. Because if the attitude was there before, if the focus was not like just accomplishing, but growing, understanding more of yourself and enjoying the trip, you know, he would not have this sensation. He would just say, nah, okay, that's not the way to go. But so many different things were done in the process. Because as a human being, like to do something great like this, like to create a big thing and work with so many people, it's something so rich. It's something that you never forget if you do it properly. Because when you start a company only with 2 people, 3 people, you are putting your heart, your blood there. And you are like maybe having a lot of dinners and talking about what's going to be next. And all this energy of friendship, companionship, it's something very like, how I say, enriching. And even if you don't accomplish, you have a sense that you have done your best. They have a sense that you have built up other things, other inner things that are more important than the external things. So it's very sad to see these things happening. It's very sad to see families like after, 40 years, 30 years, when the parents are more old, fighting between each other, the brothers. It's very sad. Although we had a family, although we did everything that a family was supposed to do, we did not really build up in the process our own growth, our own, let's say, inner contact, inner understanding. The inner knowledge of ourselves has not developed. And when this happens, when in the process you become, let's say, a better person, or maybe just understood a little bit more about who you are, what happens is that even if you lose everything, even if in the end, that person you love decides not to be with you or just pass away, because this is how life happens, there is a sensation inside of us that we are always connected to them. We don't lose those who pass away. We really only lose the opportunity to love them while they are alive. And this is what makes a lot of pain inside, when you lose somebody and you think that you lost the opportunity to love them while they were alive. This is very painful. But when this connection is there, when we understand the other person, even with the problems that they have, and the love is there, even if things did not happen the way we wanted and we end up like a part of each other, there is nothing that really can pull us apart, you know. There is some sort of, how I say, very deep bhakti, maybe is a Ishvara Prasada, who knows, that keep us all connected, keep us all loving each other wherever we are. And I have a lot of love to every people that was there with me in the stock market, even those who do not like me, because of course a lot of people won't like me. That's how we are. We are just human beings, you know. And I just love them all. Because what? Because while I was there, I was very passionate for what I was doing. There was bhakti, there was trust. If you keep going on this direction, something very interesting will happen. You will see that everything that they tell you that you should accomplish in your spiritual life is what makes a difference in the worldly life. If you have, no, Amanitoma dambitoma himsakshanti rarjavam acharya pasanam shaucham sthairyamatma vinigraha, etc., etc., etc. All the values of Gita and etc. Vairagyam, Viveka, so important. Shama, Dhamma, Uparama. Purushartha Nishchaya, you have to know what you really want. And even the understanding that happiness is only connected to what you understand of yourself and not the opinion of people around you. All these are so important for a good worldly life. So it will be at least a stupid joke if we were put in this samsara and then we are asked to live a normal life. And if we want to be happy, we have to drop everything and go to a spiritual path. It would be just a stupid joke, Ishvara's joke. Think about it. It's just the opposite. A person that wants to be happy in a worldly life, let's say like this, because now we don't need to say worldly anymore, you will see why. A person that wants to be happy in a worldly life, he needs this spiritual journey. So the spiritual journey is really the secret behind a successful worldly life. And when I say successful worldly life, I don't say that the worldly life will have a lot of accomplishments, because things may not come the way we think it will come. But if you want this inner peace, the inner happiness, that is really the objective of all these accomplishments. This spiritual growth is what's going to give you. That's how you're going to get it. So it's not a matter of being worldly or spiritual. It's the only way to be successful is to be spiritual. So this discovery of spirituality is like a waking up process that will happen slowly in one's life. Some people will ask, but how to do this? How can I be a more spiritual person? Oh, there are some tips, very interesting tips. Not from me, from the rishis and from all the teachers, all the parampara. So the first thing is that understand that if you don't do nothing, nothing will happen. This is a very good statement, you know, because sometimes we think that we just like, let's suppose I'm an Indian and I'm a spiritual person and I just live my life and I will grow. No. Spiritual growth does not come without effort. Anayasena, I will complete in English. No growth is possible. It's not possible really to see yourself growing without effort and without the will to make it happen. A second point, very important, is that we should not really believe in anything people tell us. In the beginning, we may think that belief or maybe a strong shraddha is something that it's very important and will take me to the end. But it's not like this. Shraddha and devotion it's a very high quality, and it's something that if you have, congratulations. But once you start to like investigate what you are and how things work, what is to be successful, why my mother does not want to talk to me, what I really want, where is my happiness, all the subject needs a lot of viveka, needs a lot of discrimination. And we won't make it happen if we think or we project that this change will happen outside of us or through a certain, let's say, mystical process of blessing, you know. And I will receive a blessing and then I will be able to speak to my mother. It's not going to happen like that. And this is a very important topic because in spirituality, a lot of people will sell these ideas that you have like some magical wand and they would just like do like this, and then now you're going to have prosperity on your life. A lot of students of mine ask this, teacher, what is the mantra or the ritual so that I can earn money and have a very successful career? Can you give me this mantra? Yeah, we say in Portuguese, you have to, how I say, uh, how I say in English that? You have to gastar. Como é que é gastar? You have to. Yeah. Okay, let's say like this. Your shoes, you have to lose the sole of your shoes, you know? Meaning you have to walk a lot to find a good place where you can work and put a lot of effort. The mantra is, don't be lazy and go help people they need. There are a lot of people that need work. You are at home. The job is not going to fall in your lap, you know. Somebody will call you and say, come on, Venkat, I have a job for you. It's not going to happen like this. You have to wake up and start to contribute, because wherever you are, there is something for you to do. Inside the home, there is something to do. And there is no better Mahalakshmi ritual than contributing to everybody. And suddenly, somebody will have to give you some money and some food because you are contributing what to do. And like this, we raise. And actually, if you see any profession in the world, if you become like the doctor, you know, you start doing seva to the old doctors, isn't it? If you are like, you want to become a yoga teacher, how do you become a yoga teacher? Doing seva to your teacher. So this seva attitude of working and going like before whatever you want is such an important thing. But because of this spiritual connection, people feel that they will have a special mantra, you know? No, you have to criticize and also like challenge everything that is told. Don't take anything for granted. Just think that logic is not opposite to spirituality. Nobody can tell you something in a spiritual path that can be opposite to logic. God created logic and spirituality together. The material world is not opposite to the spiritual world. They are friends. More you are in the spiritual world, more you get your worldly success. So like this, be all the time questioning and trying to understand things in the minimum details without being, you know, a stupid person that, no obsession, just like with respect, but challenge everything. Try to understand everything the teacher is telling. Don't take for granted because I'm a spiritual person or I'm an Indian or I'm a yogi, that I know whatever they are going to tell me. Because if really I knew what my teacher was going to tell me, I don't need a teacher. So you need something that will challenge your own way of thinking. And when this challenge comes, you should not submit, you know? I just accept because you are a great Acharya, I accept. No. We should not accept. You should understand. So this you can take the opposite side. If you can tell that the spiritual path will give you success in your worldly projects, now understand the other side. This worldly mindset, when it goes in spirituality, will also make you grow there. Because although the spirituality can be with a lot of fantasies and fancy ideas, that will not help very much. So it's not that there are two different paths. Actually, it's only one path. The path of a person wanting to find his inner peace and his happiness. And it's okay to have worldly projects. It's okay to be a grihasta. It's okay to be a monk if you want also. Because whatever you want to do in this life is Ishvara's prasada. Your desire is coming from the total. If you are doing something that is dharmic, if you are contributing to other people's lives, who is who to tell what you are going to do with your life? Why? Why to enclose yourself in certain restraints and say it should be like this? Why? Why you can't be happy on the place you are right now? Actually, it's just ignorance. It's just ignorance that bind our minds, and then you have to project somehow that you are not living the life that can make you happy. This is the ego resistance. You are living the life that you can find your happiness. Because happiness has nothing to do with what you are doing. It has to do with an understanding of yourself. It has to do with a structure of self-judgment that you have created. And if you really want to get rid of that, then you need the pramanam, you need the means of knowledge with a correct attitude. A spiritual attitude will not help with the pramanam. You need a lot of spiritual attitude, but understand, alone it cannot do the job. Why? Because this is not a spiritual world. This is a material world. And if you go for a material project, you also won't get it. Why? Because it's a spiritual world also. And what makes you successful in the material world is the spiritual path. So, what we came to understand? Like Krishna says in the Gita, whoever sees that Sanka Yogal Pritak Balaha Pravadanti na Panditaha. Whoever says that this way of karma yoga and this way of knowledge are two different paths, they don't really know what they are talking about. Na Panditaha. They're just blabbering. There is not a real understanding what spirituality is and what to live is. If we look on this manner, if we are able to connect these two things, your life in the world will become just a big puja, a big offering for the devatas, a big offering for the humanity, a big offering for yourself, and not for your ego self, but for the part of yourself that's more like enriching, more full. If you can really think that you're doing a puja for yourself, but not for your ego, but for this, let's say, inner, like ocean abode that you have inside of love and expansion, and you can access that, and you can tell, I'm with my daughter, with my son, with my mother, with my students right now, and I am like getting in touch with this inner freedom, inner fullness that I am, This is my puja for myself, is I becoming the person that I would like to be with others. Then what can we call of a worldly pursuit? There is no worldly pursuit. It's just one path. Due to ignorance, we call this one path in two different, let's say, veins, worldly, spiritual. It's just a moment of our spiritual journey. So, here we stay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. So thank you very much for hearing me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Acharya Vishwanatha. That was really inspiring session. And you have, in a matter of minutes, cleared any doubt, if there was any, on moksha and success. And the interdependency of both has been so wonderfully explained by you. We have a couple of questions from some of the people attending, if you will let me ask. So here, one of the attendees wants to know, do you look at Vedanta as a source of income, as you are a grahastha, and hence work towards finding ways to increase your income as you have to take care of your family aspirations, etc.? Or is teaching Vedanta a loka sangraha for you?
Good question. So I had a problem to solve, because as a teacher, I cannot do my job alone. Because if I do it by myself, I cannot reach so many people, So actually, this institute that I run in Brazil, it's like, how can we say? It's a way of living of around 10, 12 people that work with me here, So we have to do it with a lot of responsibility. So the way we saw, because of the respect for knowledge also, and we don't want to mix these both energies in the sense, is like this. I was trying by myself to operate the institute for 1 year. And if in 1 year I was able to sustain myself without pressure, then I will carry on, So since I started, the level of income that we have is much, much more higher than what we need to live. So what we are doing right now is to start some social projects and for children, and also helping other teachers in Brazil that does not have the same condition as we have. So that's how the institute operates. And this was only possible because of this blessing that I was in the stock market. You see the blessing to be in the stock market before coming here. So I don't need myself money to live even before Vedanta, So thanks God.
There's another question here. Somebody's asked, in your experience, now that you've been in India and in Brazil, do you think there are more people in Brazil who are appreciating and receptive to Vedanta than people in India?
Never will be. Because, it's a different thing. Brazilians, they are just like waking up to the Vedic culture. And what I see, and I think Swamini Brahma Pragyananda can tell also because she was here with us, there is a lot of connection between like the Brazilian culture and the Indian culture. Like if you really like wake up in the morning without knowing where you are, and in some cities here in Brazil, you may think you are in India, because the energy is very much the same. But unfortunately, we don't have this nice background that you have, of having all these temples and this culture and all that. So we are just like waking up. That's how I see.
Okay. There is so I guess there's a related question to that on Brazil and Vedanta, saying, how do people in Brazil respond to Vedanta principles? How many students do you have, and will they become teachers in the future like you? Do you think there is any possibility?
I was surprised at how people were very open to Vedanta, and also the way I teach. I today I can say that I like to be bold in the statements, like trying to shake people's mind. So I always thought that I would not have many students because of that. And I know that I'm like that, and somebody knows also that she's laughing. And so but what happens is that people love it. Like a lot of people, they want to study with me because of that, you know. So I said, okay, so I'm going just to be myself and keep teaching, and that's how. So there are lots of people nowadays that are studying, and they are not like 100% committed. I feel that they are like wanting to understand more. So they just took this like a first step of becoming a student, not like a shisha, but as a person that is committed to like study for 2 years and understand what is what, you know. Because in Brazil, if you say like karma yoga, bhakti, nobody knows anything, you know. They have to learn like the basic things first. So like this, we are going, you know.
Now that you were in India for so long, and you were in Coimbatore, and your exposure to India and Indian culture is pretty high, one of us wants to know, what do you wish Indians did more with respect to their culture? What do you think we should do more with respect to our culture? Do you think there are enough of us understanding the principles of Vedanta? Do you think there are enough people, understanding the Gita, the Upanishads? Do you think we are carrying this culture forward in the way that we should?
Well, first of all, like the world has to be grateful that the knowledge is there in India and you are taking care of it, because that's the truth. I feel a little bit sad sometimes because I see so many people from outside coming to India and giving so much value to this culture, you know. And I just feel that sometimes the Indians themselves does not know the jewel that they have. And many of them, they think because they have heard the words in Sanskrit or whatever, that they know what they mean, you know, and they don't really listen to their own teachers, you know. So I think that there is something on this side that we can work upon, you know.
Okay, Brazil is so far away from India in every respect. Even a flight is probably one of the longest flights from Bombay to Brazil. What drew you towards Vedanta? I mean, you're so far away from this country. How did you get drawn into Vedanta?
Well, I have a yoga teacher in Brazil that fortunately was an Indian that knew Vedanta also. His name was Santosh. And he introduced to me Vedanta and yoga. And after Vedanta started, then I think also some Purva Janma connections, a lot of things happened, and I started to like have a lot of interest. And suddenly, like that, like in 7 years, I was only studying Vedanta and working. These were the only two things that I would do. And after that, like in the between, I met Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati, our teacher, and this meeting was very important. He was in the US by that time. It was more close to Brazil. And after that, I decided to do the 3-year course. So then some years later, I went to India and did the course. So it was like that. I had an Indian that came. I met Puja Swami here in the West, and then I went.
Okay. There is somebody. What will be your advice to people who are starting to study Vedanta later on in their life? You seem to have started it when you were very young, and so you've dedicated your life and your long life, long good life ahead of you to spread this knowledge. What's your advice to people who are starting to study the Vedanta late in their lives?
Well, I don't feel there is a late time to study Vedanta. Maybe we can feel that it's late in our lives because we are old, let's say, but Vedanta is always new. And something happens when you study Vedanta because you become also younger, like you become a student again, you do new friends, you know. So we have to give up, like to drop this idea that we are old, you know, and just like become fresh again, because Vedanta needs that. You cannot study if you say, I'm too old to Vedanta, let's study. It's not going to happen, you know. You have to at least believe in yourself for the last days of your life. You know? Why not? You
know. Can I request Swamini Brahma Pragyananda to please say a few words? Swamini?
Yeah, happily.
Yeah.
Simples, profundo Muito lindo.
Wow.
So it was simple, it was profound, and very beautiful. Mm, about being in this festival, a lot of times me and Vishvanatha, we communicate through telepathy. Okay, so so actually calling him and formally asking him, "Oh, will you be there?" The equation we have, the friendship that is a blessing to us, is such that if I say jump, he'll say how much. If he tells me sit down, I'll say, "Oh, I'm already sitting." So
So,
I'm so delighted that he is a part of our festival. In fact, we do a lot of things together, and having been with his students, live with his family, uh, he is quite extraordinary as a person, and he has a lot of blessings. um, and I remember Puja Swamiji in Rishikesh. He was sitting very comfortably. As always, there were a few people around him, and people asked Puja Swamiji, what, suppose if Vedanta does not last in India, what will happen? Because we don't see people adopting it, taking to it, and so on. And Puja Swamiji said something to the effect of, it will be in Brazil. And when I heard that, I was, and there were one or two Brazilians. So I thought, okay, maybe he's just saying it. Um, but Puja Swamiji never just said anything. There was always a deep level of meaning, and
yeah.
him being a Siddha Purusha. And I see Puja Swamiji's words coming so true. In fact, I tell some of the students that, you might need to go to Brazil to study Vedanta if we don't really wake up, in India. So the way in which Acharya Vishvanatha is teaching Vedanta and bringing the simplicity and the depth and the clarity to all the people who listen is absolutely extraordinary. I of course know many secrets about him, but one secret, which is not really a secret, I want to share. He also loves Kung Fu. And one of the very beautiful things that he does is through his words, he will use the energy of the person and help that person to look within and transform. That person's energy is used for himself, and of course to then work in the whole kata. Okay, so as you can see, I can go on and on. So thank you, dhanyawada.
Oh,
words. Yeah, very kind
yeah.
of you.
Thank
Acharya
you.
ji,
Yes.
you are not Jonas
Namaskar.
for me anymore, okay? You are
Okay.
Acharya,
Come on.
Acharya Vishwanatha for me. You know what Vishwanatha means, no? Jocularly, I can say world champion. Okay, the world leader. I think you already are in the amount of people you are influencing. I'm very happy to have you here. Been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much. It's my pleasure. My
Some other
pleasure.
time, some
Always.
other place.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Acharya ji.
See, now I'm becoming emotional. I'm almost crying here. Yeah. I love you very much. Oh.
Thank you.